As we saw in the explanatory note of the general debates theme, the international community needs urgently to organize a new activity, a new mobility to be able to achieve justice and sustainable development for all countries of the world alike, and to further reduce the gap that divides the developed countries and the least developed countries, especially in the development field. However, one question prevails. How can we achieve social development and justice in the world when one people still suffers the longest and most brutal occupation of modern history? I am referring here to the Palestinian people. The Palestinian people that is being targeted with a war of aggression, brutal massacres, and a war of extermination that has claimed the lives of over 50,000 Palestinian people, most of whom were women and children, that in addition to thousands and thousands of forcefully disappeared persons. Ladies and gentlemen, when we talk today about achieving social justice and development for the Palestinian people, perhaps this is just a luxury because the Palestinian people still lack the most basic means of survival, especially now that the brutal occupation forces are imposing on the Palestinians one violent and extreme choice, either to die of hunger and starvation or to leave their native homeland. Both choices amount to crimes against humanity. The crimes perpetrated by the occupation forces in Palestine exceeded in brutality and savagery the most violent and savage practices perpetrated by terrorist organizations. As free representatives of the free world are requested to shoulder our responsibilities, we must break the shameful international silence towards the suffering and plight of the Palestinian people. The horrific scenes are truly unprecedented in modern history. The least we can do today is come up with strong parliamentary support expressed in a document that condemns with the strongest of terms the crimes perpetrated against innocent Palestinian civilians, and a clear statement that supports the right of Palestinians to remain on their homeland. The legitimate rights of the Palestinian people is not only a political responsibility that is stipulated by most international charters and instruments. It is much more than that. It is a moral and human responsibility towards a people that enjoys the same rights as any other people of the world to live in freedom, security, and dignity. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, before concluding my remarks, I would like to reiterate that the events that unfolded in the Middle East for over 7 decades now have proven that reaching a lasting, just and comprehensive solution for the Palestinian cause can only be based on the establishment of an independent Palestinian state with East Jerusalem as its capital. This is the only gateway to establish peace, security, and stability in the region. Any attempts to conturn this solution will be doomed to fail. Such attempts will only sow more discord and more instability. Thank you very much for your attention. May the peace, blessings, and mercy of God be upon you.
Thank you very much. The next speaker from list B, 5 minutes, the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Madame la Présidente de l'Union interparlementaire,
President of the Interparliamentary Union,
Mesdames et Messieurs les Présidents des Parlements,
Speakers of Parliament,
honorables parlementaires,
Honorable Parliamentarians,
distingués délégués,
distinguished
Mesdames et
delegates,
Messieurs,
ladies and gentlemen,
c'est pour moi un immense honneur
it
de
is an immense
m'adresser
honor for
au nom
me
du peuple de la
to
République
address on behalf
démocratique du
of the
Congo
people of the Democratic
à cette
Republic
auguste
of Congo
democracy. In this 150th Assembly, the IPU's overall theme is Parliamentary Action for Social Development and Justice. By providing us a platform
processes, namely women and youth. I would like to give you a few examples to reflect the
going to go straight to the should we do first the standing committee first? Colleagues, I would like now to take this opportunity, now that you are looking at the items, the 4 items, I'll take you to the report on the deliberations of the Assembly Steering Committee, which is bestowed with powers to look at the items when they are submitted to the Secretariat. Before I give the floor to the Secretary General to explain further the proposals we have received, I would like briefly to highlight the role of the Assembly Steering Committee, which is to provide you with an opinion on the admissibility of the proposals received. So it is an opinion. This opinion, colleagues, is provided to the Assembly before it takes a decision on the inclusion of an emergency item in accordance with the Assembly Rule number 12. I am highlighting the role of the steering committee in view of your calls at the last assembly, I'm sure most of you will remember, to improve transparency around the process of the emergency items. The steering committee met twice to consider the proposal on 6th and 7th April. On 6th April, the committee had before it 4 emergency item proposals and proceeded to review each in accordance with Assembly Rule number 11. Our aim was to ensure that all proposals met the principle and the spirit of Rule 11.2 that states the inclusion of an emergency item must relate to a recent major situation of international concern. The first proposal before us was from Chile, and the committee agreed that the proposal met the criteria of Rule 11.2a. The committee spent some time deliberating the proposal from Thailand and the proposal from Seychelles, supported by the Arab and Africa groups. We felt that while there were elements of both proposals that met the criteria of Rule number 11.2a, the focus of the resolutions could be further refined to align with the spirit of an emergency item. Therefore, the proponents of both proposals were invited to revisit their respective proposals with a view to aligning them with the spirit of Rule 11.2a, that an emergency item must relate to a recent major situation of international concern. The committee was unable to consider the 4th proposal from Israel as it was incomplete at the time. The committee met again this morning on 7th of April and had before it a revised proposal from Thailand and a revised proposal from Seychelles, with the support from the Arab and Africa groups, as well as the completed proposal from Israel. The first proposal before us was on Myanmar, and the committee agreed that a substantial rewrite of the draft resolution had been done. It highlighted the grave humanitarian situation in the aftermath of the earthquake and the urgent need for aid to the people of Myanmar. It was agreed that the resolution met the criteria of an emergency item. Moving on to the proposal from the Seychelles, with the support of the Arab and African groups, the steering committee noted the revisions made to the text. Yet, the scope of the proposal was still very broad, covering 4 different items. We especially debated the idea that each topic in the proposal merited to be put forward as an item in its own right. However, as per our rules of procedure, as long as the proposal is not withdrawn by the proponents, it stands as it was put forward. Finally, the committee considered the proposal from Israel and, having received an explanatory memorandum, we agreed the submission was complete. The committee also noted that the language contained in the 2 of the proposals was not aligned with the IPU guidelines to manage the use of abusive language at IPU meetings. I remind you that we define abusive language as defamatory, intolerant, racist, or xenophobic language or expressions that incite hatred. The committee and myself sincerely and strongly encourage all delegations to foster productive exchanges within our organization and urge all participants to remain conscious of employing language that promotes respectful dialogue, mutual respect, and a culture of listening and compromise for the greater good, in line with the organization's core values, mission, and vision. Colleagues, having said that, I will now give the floor to the Secretary General to inform the Assembly about the current situation with regard to the different requests that have been submitted. Mr. Secretary General, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I join you in apologizing for the delay in starting this session of the Assembly. Due to circumstances beyond our control, we are indeed very sorry. And I want to use the opportunity now to give you the state of play as we know it now. At the start of this session, we had received, as the President has just said, we had received 4 proposals from different authors for an emergency item on the agenda of the IPU. And we have, as the Secretariat, been able to ascertain that those 4 proposals have been submitted according to the procedure that... Okay. Indonesia no longer there. Okay, I understand that this item is now being sponsored by Philippines and Thailand, and it reads parliamentary diplomacy to promote peace and address the humanitarian situation or crisis in Myanmar. The third one in that sequence is being sponsored by the Seychelles, Zimbabwe, Jordan, and Egypt with the support of the Arab group and the African group. The need for urgent action on the recent violation of the ceasefire agreement by Israel in Palestine, the escalating conflicts in the Democratic Republic of Congo and Sudan, and the compounding effects of global warming. The fourth and last proposal we received is from the delegation of Israel. It reads, ending the double standard, calling on the international community to accept refugees from Gaza instead of exploiting them to attack Israel. Madam President, those are the 4 proposals that have been tabled before the Assembly. And you may now wish to invite the Assembly to go on and consider those 4 proposals in the order in which they have been received. Thank you very much.
Colleagues, our rules allow for 1 emergency item to be added to the agenda. The Assembly will therefore consider each request and vote on each one. In order to be taken into consideration, a request must receive 2/3 majority of the votes. Moreover, the request that has obtained both the majority and the highest number of positive votes will be added to the agenda. However, colleagues, in order to allow the Assembly to examine a broader range of pressing issues, and at the suggestion of the Executive Committee, provision has been made for the 150th Assembly to potentially debate and adopt a resolution on a second emergency item proposal, provided the second placed proposal obtains the required 2/3 majority of votes. If successful, colleagues, this approach may be reflected to the proponents of these emergency items. I have been informed, who is it? Mr. Belgium. And Zimbabwe. Okay.
Somebody should read those nameplates. I cannot see them.
Okay, so we have two hands. Sorry.
The Netherlands.
On our right, who has raised on that? Iraq. Okay. Thank you, Iraq. We have seen you. Okay. So, colleagues, I have 4 requests. So I'm going to give the floor to the 4 colleagues, and then we will proceed. So let's begin with Belgium, followed by Zimbabwe. Netherlands will.
Thank you.
Nigeria was ignored.
Thank you, Mrs. President.
Nigeria raised her hand. Please put us on the list.
Okay, sorry. Nigeria also requested the floor. Okay. Okay, Belgium, please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mrs. President. Dear colleagues, what's happening now is quite strange, if I can say. We had to read the following amendment and the documents of the Assembly under the point 3 emergency item, rules of the Assembly, Rule 14 and Rule 15.3. And there is suggested delete these rules and replace with a new rule, 11.2 bis, as follows. The steering committee shall give its opinion on the admissibility of proposals and propose on an ad hoc procedure for the overall emergency item process for approval by the Assembly. And if we read the justification at the end, there is mentioned or written, as for the adoption of a second emergency item proposal, the Executive Committee agreed that on an experimentally basis, should the second proposal receive the required 2/3 majority, it could be included in the Assembly timetable for a debate and resolution on the subject in question. This approach will be tried at the 150th Assembly without an amendment to statutes and rules. If successful, the practice could then be enshrined in the Assembly rules through an amendment. Dear colleagues, I don't know whether you have trials or experiments in your parliaments or a bureau or an executive committee which can decide to run such experiments. In my country, this is not possible. If you want to change a fundamental rule, which means the Constitution, for example, or special laws, you need a 2/3 majority. And the IPU is also a constitution. The statutes and the rules are like a constitution in a country. And you, Mr. President, visited us our 3rd+ meeting and promised to check whether there is a window in the statutes or not. But fortunately or unfortunately, you didn't come back to us and you didn't report to us. I hope you're listening to me, Mrs. President, but because it is quite...
I am listening to you, Belgium. Please go ahead.
But it didn't come back with a report. So what I have done, together with my colleagues of the 12+, we checked some rules. And what is written about changing the statutes and rules, if you go to Article 30, first of all, any proposal to amend the statutes shall be submitted in writing to the IPU Secretariat at least 3 months before the meeting of the Assembly. Third, the Assembly shall decide on such proposals by 2/3 majority vote. And that's just by coincidence the same what we have, for example, in Belgium. If you want to change the constitution or if you want to change that kind of special law or rule, you need a 2/3 majority. And however, this organization prefers to change the procedure via its executive committee, where there are, in total here we are at 800 MPs, and now 15 of them, it means the ExCom members can decide to run trials without any vote. On the other hand, the IPU is organizing capacity building regarding parliamentary democracy all over the world. And what you try to teach to all over the world, we are now not using the same rules. And I knew, and there is also...
Belgium, please, I'm going to request you to please, Madame, in 1 minute, conclude, please.
No. Sorry, Madam President, this point is so important that...
It's very important, but like we started from the...
This point is so important. This is about democracy, Mrs. President.
Yes, I didn't cut you short. I said, I hadn't even finished the sentence. I'm not going to be able to afford give you an hour to explain. So I was trying to tell you, please conclude in a minute because I have a list of other requests who I suppose would like to address the same point. So unless we agree that we can give each one who has requested the floor 10 or 15 minutes, I'll give you. I don't have any issues because I'm the presiding officer. But I have to be considerate that the House needs to listen to all the people who have requested for the floor. So, Mr. Andres, 1 minute, please conclude your intervention. Thank you.
Okay, I will conclude my intention in 1 minute. First of all, there is an amendment. We have put a sub-amendment concerning this topic. This will be voted on Wednesday. And then it will be voted and has to be agreed with 2/3 majority. The statutes are quite clear. If you want to change something, you need this 2/3 majority. So you cannot change it just like that, just as a trial. And let's be honest, this is democracy. This is about what you are learning, the whole world, what is democracy, and then we will not use the rules of democracy in our own house. So I clearly against the proposal of the trial.
Okay. So now I had said I'll give the floor to Zimbabwe, followed by Netherlands, then Iraq. Zimbabwe,
Thank
you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam President. On the same line with what Belgium has put forward, the existing statutes in terms of rule number 11, read together with number 12, indicate clearly that you deal with only one emergence item. The proposal for a second emergence item creates problems wherein the statutes have not been amended. They are simply proposals that have to be put before the Governing Council, and once the Governing Council has agreed to the amendments, including that we should have 2 emergence items, then the proposal that has been made now by the chair will hold fort. But as it is, I do not think that will be procedural, and it will be, in fact, against the statutes as they exist now, before the amendments that are proposed to be placed before the Governing Council, I think, on Wednesday. I so submit, Madam President.
Thank you very much. Netherlands, followed by Iraq. Nigeria will follow.
Thank you very much, Madam President. In your introductory words to this point, I heard you say provisions have been made to make this experiment happen. I'm very sorry to say, but I think there is no legal basis for this experiment in the statutes and rules of the IPU. Let me quote Article 14 of the statutes of the IPU. Article 14, paragraph 2, I quote, "The Assembly may include one emergency item in its agenda," unquote. In rule number 11, paragraph 2, under B, I quote, "The Assembly may place only one emergency item on its agenda," unquote. So, Madam President, the statutes and rules are extremely clear. There is no possibility whatsoever to include more than only one emergency item in the agenda. You referred to rule number 15, paragraph 3, as a possibility to make this experiment happen. I'm afraid this is not the legal basis that is needed for this experiment, as this rule, 15, paragraph 3, only deals with the debate and the finalization of the emergency item during the Assembly. This is not about putting an emergency item on the agenda. So I underline what Belgium and Zambia had said before, Zimbabwe, excuse me, had said before, this is not a way forward, this is not admissible. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Iraq, followed by Nigeria.
شكرا سيد الرئيسة. أنا أريد أن أقدم نقطة نظام على ما يتعلق.
Thank you, Madam. I have a point of order in terms of the emergency item proposed by Israel. We're talking about an emergency item that runs counter to international law. How can parliamentarians from around the world how can they ask to vote on a resolution which violates international law and humanitarian standards, with assassinations of women and children, the destruction of hospitals and schools? Israel is conducting a genocide, and now it's asking parliaments from around the world to vote to continue this massacre.
وتطلب لترسيخ شيء في القانون الدولي لا يمكن السماح به وهو الترانسفير والجينوسايد. هل الترانسفير والتهجير يمكن أن يكون موضوعا للتصويت؟ We not abide by international law? Can we vote on such a point? The Palestinian people live in occupied land. International law and UN resolutions uphold the fact that Palestinians live on their land. How can Israel try to kick them off their land? How can we possibly accept such a situation?
Iraq, please hold on. Colleagues,
this is a violation of international law, what's being proposed.
Colleagues, at this moment, according to the rules that we have, when an issue is presented as an emergency item, it is the responsibility of the Secretariat to receive it. After it has received it, I call the steering committee. The steering committee looks into the items that are submitted and then try to form an opinion about their admissibility. The steering committee does not make a decision. Rule number 12 reads, before taking a decision on a request for the inclusion of an emergency item, and after hearing the opinion of the steering committee on its admissibility, the assembly, which is you, dear colleagues, shall hear a concise explanation from the sponsor and a statement from one speaker holding a contrary opinion, neither of whom shall enter into the substance of the matter. So, dear colleague from Iraq, at this stage, we wait until we dispose of the matter that has been raised by our colleagues here from Belgium, Zimbabwe, and Netherlands. Then, when Israel is given a chance to present here, a decision is made by way of your votes, colleagues. So it's not the steering committee that refuses an emergency item, but we meet in order to advise you on the opinion we have formed after we have received all those emergency items. So that said, I'm going to go to Nigeria.
Thank you very much, Madam President, and most distinguished colleagues. The issues that I wanted to look at have been well attended to by Netherlands, but the second issue has not been addressed by any member of this assembly, and that has to do with the proposal number 3. And I'm happy you mentioned issues that had to do with the steering committee looking at the admissibility or otherwise of such proposal. Madam President, let me read you number 3 again. It says, the need for urgent action on the recent violation of the ceasefire agreement by Israel in Palestine, one subject. Number 2, the escalating conflict in the Democratic Republic of Congo and Sudan, subject 2. Number 3, and the compounding effect of global warming. Madam President, I wish to refer you to the rule of this Assembly, Rule 11, paragraph 2, sub C, and it reads as follows. The authors of 2 or more requests for the inclusion of an emergency item may combine their proposals to present a joint one, provided that each of the original proposals relate to the same subject. Madam President, under number 3, there are 3 subjects there. They are not related. I wonder how that was drafted, and there is not the position of African group, which Nigeria is a member of. If we want to talk about Palestine, it should be a subject on its own. If we want to talk about the escalating conflict in Democratic Republic of Congo or Sudan, that should be a subject of its own, especially with reference to the geography. That should be a subject of that should be a subject of its own, especially with reference to the geographical location of these particular subject matters. And then compounding it with the effect of global warming makes it very ambiguous. So I want to say that the drafting of this number 3 proposition is not in line with the letters and spirit of Article 11, paragraph 2, subparagraph C. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you so much, colleagues, because there are the 3 colleagues who addressed the chair. We are speaking about the same thing. I'm going also to dispose of what Nigeria is talking about. Colleagues, when I was explaining initially, I explained to you what also the steering committee had talked about this particular major situation of the international concern. The committee was unable to consider, so What our Nigerian colleague is saying about item 3 were also the concerns of the steering committee, but as Rule 12 says, we cannot, as steering committee, say no to a particular proposal. When it is presented here by the proponent, it is at that point as the Assembly will now decide to a vote. As to how it has been combined together up to now, we wouldn't know really. The Arab group, the Africa group supporting Thailand and supporting Seychelles, this is what we have so far. So if there was any different opinion in the groupings, that we wouldn't know as the steering committee in the morning, but even now as the chair. But what I have is what was presented to us. I don't know, I don't want to say unfortunately, but I want to say that is what was presented to us. So if there are any changes, they will come after presentation here, and whoever is going to speak against, then a decision will be made by you colleagues. Now I will go to the issues, to the issue that was raised by Belgium, but at the same time raised by Zimbabwe and Netherlands. Colleagues, I must say the concerns that you have raised in respect of what the rules provide at the moment, you're right and you're correct. The opinion, not of the chair, because I know one of the colleagues said, the chair said it because I am presiding, of which I agree. But this wasn't the decision of the chair. Like I read through, this issue was canvassed upon in the executive committee in October 2024. And after that, in December, when we were sending the convocation to you, it was also included in there. And then the Secretariat, I am reliably informed that the Secretariat did not hear anything from October, even to December, even to now when we are meeting here, when as President I go through, I visit the geopolitical groups, then it was raised in the one of the geopolitical groups, which is the 12+. And like Mr. Andrew said, and he's correct, when I went there, this issue was raised, and I asked my colleague here, and to reach out to the group and inform them the chronology of events. And I am reliably informed that she did so. So we didn't know that, there was still a misunderstanding, as it has just been presented here, that the feedback was never given. Anna Phillips reached out, and I think maybe the information wasn't shared, but she reached out and she can confirm I am with her here. But irrespectively, colleagues, I think under the circumstances, much as this issue was canvassed in October in the executive committee in which all the geopolitical groups have representation, but also much as the convocation which was sent to all your parliaments was done in December. The concerns that have been raised by Belgium, by Zimbabwe, and Netherlands, and listening to them, but also seeing the House, how it's responding to the issue that has been proposed, that has been talked upon by them. I am under the impression that the House, irrespective of the fact that this proposal, the proposal to try and canvass on two issues was meant to consider the broader issues that we have in the world at the moment than concentrating on only one. I fully understand, and from the look of things, is that the Assembly is not interested in discussing two items. Am I correct? No, well, there are a few of you clapping, a few of you don't seem to clap. So like I said, this issue came up because we have at all times come to these assemblies. There is time we have never come up with any resolution, which is also okay because it's also a decision. But there are also cases where the Assembly has discussed the same issue over and over again, ignoring the other issues that happen elsewhere. But if the Assembly is uncomfortable with this, we will be ready as the leadership of IPU to withdraw this issue for now. It will be sent to you as required by the statutes, and because we still have the working group on the statute, it can still come to you at the appropriate time. But the idea of trial was coming before the change of status so that we see whether it is a possibility. It was not meant to usurp your powers, dear colleagues, dear Assembly of this IPU. It was meant to give broader issues to discuss. And as you know, we are 6 geopolitical groups. We face at times different issues, and some of them don't get the attention of the Assembly. I'll give 1 minute to the Secretary General, and we make a determination about this, then proceed to go to the issues that are at hand. Mr. Secretary General, 1 minute.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I think that we have to dispel any misunderstanding here. You may, as the Assembly, decide not to go along with the proposal that has been made by the Executive Committee. That's your prerogative. But it has to be on the basis of a clear understanding of the background and the status of that proposal. It has, I believe, to be clarified that we are not talking of amending the rules of the organization at this stage. So there is no proposal to change the legal framework of the IPU regarding the emergency item. So to all intents and purposes, you can go ahead and have your one emergency item adopted at this Assembly or none, as Madam President has said. But I think that the merit of this proposal was to help you to try out something that could provide a solution to a concern that you have expressed, that at some times we do not have other issues being addressed by the IPU because you are constrained by just one emergency item. So, Madam President, I think you and your colleagues need to clarify this, that we're not talking of any legal amendments at this stage. We are just trying out an experiment. You have, the Executive Committee has tried out an experiment. If you don't want that experiment, that is something else. But it should not be on the basis of your understanding that the legal framework is being changed or being tampered with. Thank you.
That said, colleagues, I had said I'll give 1 minute to the Secretary.
Thank you.
That said, colleagues, I had said I'll give 1 minute to the Secretary General and then we make a determination. I think let's agree to leave this because we are also beyond time. So let's go to our process. We will no longer be having 2 items. We will have only 1. Okay?
Fine.
Yeah, fine. Good. So there we are. Let's go now to our, having clarified that, colleagues, I will now go to give the floor to one delegate from each delegation who has proposed an item. And if there is any, I will also give a chance, I will also give a chance to whoever is going to speak against the agenda. We will hear the sponsors of the items and any possible opponents in sequence. So before holding a single vote by roll call as per our rules. So just a reminder, speakers should refrain from going into substance as per Rule 12 of the issues involved. They will have a maximum of 3 minutes in which to state their case. So now we will go to the first one, Chile and Peru. Mr. Edwards, Chile. 3 minutes.
Madam President, honorable members of the IPU, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, we stand at a critical juncture of global economic history. Stock markets across the world are plummeting as of now. What we're experiencing is nothing short of a financial crisis. And behind every index point lost lie jobs, livelihoods, and families are at risk. And I wonder how much poverty and suffering will follow these numbers when transferred to the real economy. That is why I call upon you, my colleagues, to reflect deeply upon the consequences of unilateral and retaliatory tariffs. Protectionism may seem like a shield, but in reality, it is a weapon that too often harms those it claims to defend. Some may believe that this economic downturn, due to these tariffs, will be brief, but history teaches us otherwise. Just one example, let us recall the so-called chicken war of the 60s, a dispute between the US and primarily West Germany over poultry exports that led to the chicken tax on imported light trucks. The effects of those taxes lingered for decades. Let me offer another example. In 2018, an administration imposed tariffs on imported washing machines. Predictably, the price of the imports rose, but so did the local ones, as producers capitalized on reduced competition. What was the result? Consumers paid an additional $1.5 billion. The numbers of jobs created fewer than 2,000. That means that each new job costs consumers over $840,000 a year, a self-inflicted wound, as unnecessary as it was avoidable. Distinguished delegates, this is not just economic mismanagement. It is an abandonment of the very principles that have lifted over 1 billion people out of poverty since the 90s. Principles rooted in open markets, cooperation, and the free flow of goods and ideas. Protectionism does not provide a sustainable solution. It drives up prices, it feeds inflation, it fuels uncertainty, and increases the risk of global recession. Worst of all, it hits developing nations the hardest, widening inequality and deepening hardship. Let us instead reaffirm our commitment to a multilateral trade system, one that is transparent, fair, and inclusive. A system that does not pit a nation against each other, but brings us together in mutual prosperity. I urge you to support the advancement of global economic cooperation, to stand together for tariff reduction, and speak out clearly and firmly against protectionism. The moment demands courage, let us rise to it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, is there any delegate that would like to go against that motion? No. I don't see any. Thank you very much. So I'm going to call now Indonesia, Philippines, and Thailand. Whoever is chosen to do that.
Yes, this one.
Yes. Thailand is going to do on behalf of the rest. So Mr. Subsang, please, you have the floor. 3 minutes.
Madam President, Mr. Secretary General, distinguished colleagues, I have a secret to tell you. Before I enter into this room, I almost lost my strength because, very difficult to find supporter outside of this room. When I talk about Myanmar, people ask me, where's Myanmar? It has seemed to me like it's been forgotten for long. When talk about humanitarian crisis, very difficult and challenging. But after I enter this room, some people re-energize me. Brother and sister from African group, thank you. Asia Pacific group, some people supporting, thank you. And Arab group also energized me. Thank you so much. I understand that we live in a world where crises are multiplying, from conflict zone to natural disaster. No region has been spared, resources are overstretched. Therefore, attention is divided. We, the co-sponsor of this call, the Philippines and Thailand, we are the voices of the voiceless people. The people, they call themselves people of Myanmar. These people, they cannot be able to be here as official member at the IPU. They are observer. But we are the two nations in the ASEAN that we are echoing their voices. Colleagues, on 28th of March 2025, a magnitude 7.7 earthquake struck in Mandalay of Myanmar. It was a devastating blow. The disaster took the life of more than 3,300 people, injured over 4,500 people, and displaced over 51,000. More than that, 1.1 million people have been affected. Homes, schools, hospitals, and sacred places have collapsed. Families are now living in a temporary shelter with limited access to water, food, and basic care. However, the ground in Myanmar was already unsteady long before the earthquake struck. For years, Myanmar has facing humanitarian urgency. Years of instability, displacement, and insecurity have left over 15 million people in need of assistance. Can you imagine? Despite announcement of ceasefire after the earthquake, airstrike and bombardments have continued, particularly in areas most of need of humanitarian access. Relief is too often delayed, restricted, or out of reach. This is what we call the humanitarian crisis on top of one. But this is precisely why we must not look away. The people of Myanmar are not asking for special treatment. They are asking to receive unhindered, equal, and timely humanitarian assistance. Like every crisis in the world needs, they need coordination that works, access that reaches, relief that heals. That's why I present this emergency item together with a colleague from the Philippines. Despite the outcome, if that resolution will be adopted, we believe that bringing Myanmar's crisis to this assembly is already meaningful. You know why? Because the people of Myanmar are listening. There are more than 50 million people listening to us here. I'm asking not for more, but for humanity and humanitarian. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Madam President.
Do we have any, sorry?
Madam President, may I be recognized? Philippines, please.
Sorry, who is it?
Madam President.
Philippines, unless you are objecting, we don't provide for somebody who is, but you can't even be objecting. You are a member of this, so he has spoken on your behalf.
Madam President, thank you very much. The Philippines.
No. Philippines, hold on. I have recognized you. I didn't know what your issue is. You're part of the sponsors of this motion, and he has exhausted the 3 minutes, which are usually allocated. So unless you want to withdraw and say, I'm no longer part of it, I want to go against it, then I'll give you the floor. Are you going against the motion?
No, I am not against it. We are just going to support.
Then thank you very much if you're supporting. So colleagues, I'm going to now call on Ms. Ajagub from Jordan. I'm here. And they are going to share with the Seychelles, but you have 3 minutes in total. You have 3 minutes in total. Thank you.
In the name of God, most gracious, most merciful, I am honored to speak to your August Assembly today, representing two geopolitical groups, the African group, represented by Seychelles and Zimbabwe, and the Arab group, represented by the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan and the Arab Republic of Egypt, in proposing a proposal for an emergency item. It is the fruit of a long-standing and unwavering consensus between peoples that share the same affliction, the affliction of occupation, the affliction of injustice, and the affliction of a world that is ruthless towards the most vulnerable. For over 76 years now, Palestine has been deprived of justice. A whole people has a right to self-determination, but this right is being violated in light of an illegal occupation in a scenery that is completely devoid of any respect of international law and international humanitarian law. There is a genocide being perpetrated, a siege that is blocking food and medication, bombing campaigns targeting civilians, hospitals and schools, starvation that is being weaponized as a war weapon. It is an aggression that not only threatens an unarmed people, but also destroying whatever remains from the international justice system. From this forum, our two geopolitical groups completely and utterly refuse the forceful displacement of peoples. We remain attached to the rights of the Palestinian peoples. And also, we call for the end of an occupation. This is the only and irreplaceable solution to achieve peace and stability in the region. Also, suffering persists in Africa. The Democratic Republic of the Congo is suffering an armed conflict that is claiming the lives of millions. These cannot be taken in isolation from the climate situation that is rather catastrophic. Droughts, sudden floods, sudden extreme and severe changes in the climate. This is very, very dangerous for the peoples of the African continent. It has always been one common position between us all, to stand in the face of occupation. This is a struggle for the freedom and dignity of peoples. I will now give the floor to my colleague, Mr. William, to take the floor on behalf of the African Group.
Ladies and gentlemen, we do not present this proposal in search of comforting words, but to mobilize international cooperation in line with the IPU's fundamental principles and the goals of the 230 Sustainable Development Agenda, of which only 17% has been achieved. We call through this proposal for strengthening international parliamentary diplomacy to uphold multilateralism, peace, and international security, enhancing climate response, and submitting more ambitious national contributions to limit global warming now that we have surpassed 1.5 degrees, compounding the vulnerabilities of the vulnerable, further notably the seeds and conflicting war zones. Scaling up international mediation efforts in Palestine, Sudan, and the Democratic Republic of Congo, and working towards sustainable dialogue that encourage peace and justice. Mobilize IPU resources to address crises in these countries.
Mr. Waven, time is up.
This proposal is not momentary action, but call to awaken the conscience of the global parliament community.
Thank you.
Madam President, I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Colleagues, do we have any opposer? None? Israel, you have 2 minutes to oppose.
Thank you, Madam President. This resolution is not about peace, it's political theater. Yes, there are tragic conflicts and... Madam President, I ask that you safeguard my right to respond. Madam President, just so you know, the parliament member from Algeria gave me the middle finger beforehand, and it seems like he was insulting me again. I think there should be consequences to this type of action in the IPU. This is not how parliament members around the world should look.
Israel, hold on. Hold on. Colleagues, it is your right to walk out, but please do not intimidate a delegate. Please. Let the delegate have the right like any of us have in the House. It's your right like any of us have in the House. It's your right to walk out, but it is not your right to intimidate a delegate.
Thank you, Madam President.
Israel, are you, I don't know where you're seated, whether people have already left?
Yes.
Okay, please, you have the floor.
Madam President, this resolution is not about peace, it's political theater. Yes, there are tragic conflicts in Sudan and the Congo, and yes, there is a tragic war in Gaza. But this text was written with one purpose: to vilify Israel while whitewashing terror. Let's be brutally honest. On October 7th, Hamas terrorists stormed across our border at dawn. They butchered families in their homes. They shot children in front of their parents and parents in front of their children. They raped women besides the corpse of their friends. They burnt entire families alive, and they dragged 240 hostages, civilians, back into Gaza like trophies. That's why this war began. And today, 59 of those hostages are still being held in underground terror dungeons. You don't mention them, not a single word. You talk about a ceasefire. The ceasefire ended because Hamas refused to release more hostages. They broke it, not Israel. And now you dare to condemn us for trying to bring our people home. A resolution that ignores October 7th, ignores our hostages, and refuses to name Hamas as the enemy is not a call for peace. It is a moral failure. It is a stain on this institution. And let me be clear, Israel will never apologize for defending itself. Not now, not ever.
Thank you very much. Colleagues, we now go to the fourth item, proposed emergency item, which will be presented by Mr. Eloise, Israel.
Yes. Will you send the video to me in this number?
No problem.
The video just did?
Okay, no problem.
Madam President, Secretary General, colleagues, I rise today not just to present a resolution, but to issue an indictment. I accuse the international community of moral bankruptcy. I accuse governments around the world of weaponizing Palestinian suffering to attack Israel while abandoning the very people they claim to care about. You demand that Israel fight terrorists who hide behind civilians without a single civilian casualty, yet you refuse to lift a finger to remove those civilians from harm's way. You've closed your borders. You've slammed shut your gates. You trap Gaza's civilians inside a war zone, and then you dare to blame Israel for every casualty. October 7th was not a military operation. It was a massacre. Over 1,200 Israelis were butchered, burned, raped, executed in their homes. And as we speak, Israeli men are still being tortured in Hamas's underground dungeons. And yet, instead of isolating Hamas, instead of demanding justice, you isolate Israel. This resolution demands an end to the double standard. It calls on countries that welcomed refugees from Syria, from Ukraine, from Afghanistan to stop pretending Gaza is the one exception. If your country has a tradition of opening its doors to victims of war, why not civilians in Gaza? Why now the silence? Let me be clear, we understand and respect nations that consistently oppose large-scale refugee absorption. That is a sovereign decision. But we will not accept the hypocrisy of those who take in refugees from every other conflict except for this one, because doing so would deny them the political weapon of Palestinian suffering. Let's be honest, the refusal of regional states like Egypt and Jordan to take in even a single refugee from Gaza is not policy, it is strategy. Keep the civilians trapped, let the casualties mount, then go on TV and call Israel the criminal. And the world plays along. This is not humanitarianism, this is complicity. You are enabling Hamas. You are preserving their human shield strategy. You are protecting their war machine with your silence and inaction. Israel is fighting a war it did not start against monsters who hide behind women and children. We are doing what every responsible democracy must do, defend our people. But the international community must choose. Do you want to save lives, or do you just want to condemn Israel? This resolution does not ask the world to choose between Israel and the Palestinians. It asks the world to choose between hypocrisy and responsibility, between using civilians as political shields or saving them. Unfortunately, as I know, this resolution will not pass because of the hypocrisy of those who attack us. I actually want to ask to remove it from the agenda today and not bring it up for a vote, because unfortunately I know that the hypocrisy of the world will be here today also, and that there is no chance for this to pass. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Colleagues, Israel has withdrawn its motion, and so there will be no response as per our rules. Now, we have had all the responses of the various items.
Excuse me, Madam President.
It's not fair that someone...
Sorry. Who is it?
Madam President, please. It's not fair. It's not fair.
Hold on. I was asking who it is that requested the floor. Palestine, please.
Yes. It's not fair that someone go to the podium, say whatever he wants, and then nobody reply. This is not right. This is not fair.
Colleagues, I fully understand the issue that has been raised by Palestine, our colleague from Palestine, but unfortunately the rules say so. So if we have a way of dealing with that, I think just like we decided on the first matter, maybe this also should form part of our future engagement so that we change our rules. I'm so sorry, my brother, that you feel that way, but those
Madam
are
President,
our rules.
this is Israel speaking. I just want to say for the record that I have no problem hearing a response. I believe in transparency, and I believe in listening to everyone's opinion. So for the record, I have no problem hearing a response.
No more.
Colleagues,
Madam President,
please, colleagues.
Point of order.
Colleagues, please.
Yes. Palestine, point of order. I'm not going to speak about this. I want point of order, please.
Okay, Palestine, point of order. What is it?
I'm going to speak in Arabic, so please use your headphones.
Madam President, dear colleagues, what we had been warning about for years. Now, when we told you that Israeli plans and actual practices of this racist entity aims at emptying our land of its native inhabitants have now become a proposal that is tabled on the podium of the IPU. This proposal that calls for the displacement of the Palestinian people, despite the fact that this entity has perpetrated ethnic cleansing and genocide against Palestine. Madam President, it's a point of order.
Hold on, please.
Okay.
Madam President,
colleagues.
Every time we come here is
Colleagues.
Palestine and Israel.
Colleagues.
We didn't spend our nation's money to come here only to talk about Palestine and Israel. I have problem in Africa. We should also be given time to talk about our problem in Africa. Every time we come here is Israel and Palestine. We didn't spend money from our country to come here to talk about Israel and Palestine all the time. We have problem in Africa and it should be addressed.
Nigeria, please.
This house should not be divided every time between Palestine and Israel. We also have problem in Africa.
Colleagues, please allow me to address the issue that was being raised by Palestine.
I didn't finish yet. One sentence.
Palestine,
the point of order is good.
Palestine, you hadn't finished. I'm sorry I had to cut you short. It's because you're responding to something that has been withdrawn.
No.
When it is withdrawn, hold on. We have here just ruled about the fact that we are going to go with our rules. I've been advised that the rules say if an emergency item has been withdrawn, there is nobody who can speak against it because it doesn't exist. So the explanation you're giving is a response to something that has been withdrawn. And colleagues, I try to use the rules as they are, because if I do that, then it means next time somebody else brings a motion, I have to do the same. So it is not a point of order because it is referring to something that doesn't exist.
In our rules, do we have anything, our rules and status, that the IPU can discuss the displacement of a nation from its own land? Is that the case in our rules and status?
If
yes, then shame on us all, because then we are going to discuss displacement of people.
Palestine, I hear you and I sympathize with you. The problem is our rules as they stand now I cannot give you the floor to respond to what does not exist. That's the only problem. So
I'm talking about rules and status of the IPU.
I'm sorry, I can't do anything else apart from that. And from what Nigeria, I think, just addressed us, but there's nothing that the chair would like to respond to. So, colleagues, we have had all the sponsors of the various items. We will now proceed to the roll call vote. I'm now going to ask the Secretary General to explain to us briefly the procedure.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you. As I understand it, we now have 3 proposals before the Assembly. And according to the rules, and that's Rule 16.1 of the statutes, the Assembly shall vote by roll call, except when the decision before Assembly meets with no opposition. And the number of votes allocated to each delegation is to be found in document A/150/inf.2. I believe you all have access to that document here. And the number of votes indicated corresponds to the number of delegates announced. Delegations in arrears of more than 2 years of contributions are not entitled to vote under the provisions of Article 5.2 of the statutes and thus do not appear on the list. Please don't walk up to us and ask us why your country name is not on the list. It is because you may be owing more than 2 years in arrears. Then we have, in accordance with 15.1 of the statutes, only delegates physically present in the plenary at the moment of the vote can take part in the vote. The statutes provide that no single delegate can record more than 10 votes, and that's Article 15.3 of the statutes. This means that if a delegation is entitled to, for example, 21 or more votes, it will need the physical presence of at least 3 delegates in the room to cast its full entitlement of votes. To ensure that a variety or a diversity of views can be expressed through the vote, the statutes envisage the possibility of splitting the votes cast by a delegation on any given subject item. And I refer you to Article 15.3 of the statutes. If a delegation is entitled to a total of 15 votes, for example, it can register 6 votes in favor, 5 against, and 4 abstentions, or 10 in favor, 5 against. Vote splitting is not mandatory. The delegation may decide to cast all 15 of its votes for or against. We now have, as I said, 3 competing proposals for the emergency item. Instead of proceeding with a separate roll call on each of them, it is our practice to combine all votes into one round. For each of the 3 proposals in turn, one by one, please state how your delegation will cast the total number of votes to which it is entitled. So, Madam President, we hope this explanation is very clear regarding the voting procedure. If that's the case, Madam President, you may now want to invite my colleague, Ambassador Philip, to proceed with the roll call vote using the table that has been distributed. Thank you.
Colleagues, I'm going to ask Philip to lead us in this exercise. It will take some time, but I'm going to ask all delegations to be ready to announce their votes very clearly when the names are called so that we have the actual votes that you delegates have voted. So, Ambassador Philip, you have the floor. Can the technician please put on the microphone? She's going to use the podium.
Okay, we have it going. Thank you, distinguished delegates, once again for your patience. Thank you to the interpreters for bearing with us. We realize it's very late and there are places that you need to get to this evening. We will try to conduct this as quickly as possible. the Secretary General has explained the voting procedure. I will be calling each one of the 3 proposals one by one, and for each proposal you will be asked to cast the full allocation of your votes. Please speak clearly into the microphone so I do not have to repeat for my colleagues, and as you know, we're having some difficulties with the sound system. So thank you for your help. We begin with Ukraine. Ukraine, you have 15 votes.
Yeah.
The proposal on tariffs, please.
All abstained.
Proposal on Myanmar.
15 in favor.
Proposal on conflict and global warming.
All abstained.
Thank you. United Arab Emirates. United Arab Emirates, you have 13 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
مع 13 مع.
With 13 with or in favor. 13 in favor. 13 in favor.
13 in favor. Proposal on Myanmar.
Abstain.
Abstention.
Abstain.
Proposal on conflict and global warming.
13 with.
13 in favor.
Thank you. United Kingdom, 18 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
18 in favor.
Proposal on Myanmar.
18 in favor.
Proposal on conflict and global warming.
18 against.
Thank you. Tanzania, you have 18 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
18 against.
Proposal on Myanmar.
18 against.
Conflict and Vietnam. Zambia. Zambia, you have 14 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
14 against.
Proposal on Myanmar.
14 against.
Conflict and global warming.
14 for that one.
Zimbabwe.
In favor of the global warming. Thank you.
Zimbabwe, you have 13 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
No vote. No.
Against. Proposal on Myanmar.
No.
Albania. Proposal on tariffs. Global warming.
In favor.
Thank you. Belarus, you have 12 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
12 votes against.
Proposal on Myanmar.
12 votes against.
Conflict and global warming.
In favor. In favor.
Thank you. Thank you. Belgium, 13 votes. Proposal on tariffs. 13 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
13 votes in favor.
Proposal on Myanmar.
Votes in favor.
Proposal on Myanmar.
13 votes in favor.
Conflict and global warming.
In favor.
Conflict and global warming.
13 votes against.
Thank you. Bhutan. Bhutan, you have 10 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
10 votes abstain.
Proposal on Myanmar.
Votes in favor, 5 abstain. Favor, 5 abstain.
Conflict and global warming.
5 votes in favor.
And global warming.
5 votes in favor, 5 abstain.
Global warming. Thank you. Equatorial Guinea.
In favor.
Conflict and global warming.
11 votes against.
Thank you. Eswatini, 11 on tariffs.
18 pour.
Myanmar.
10 pour.
Myanmar.
18 pour.
Decided on the first matter. Maybe this also should form part of our future engagement so that we change our rules. I'm so sorry, my brother, that you feel that way, but those
Madam
are our
President,
rules.
this is Israel speaking. I just want to say for the record that I have no problem hearing a response. I believe in transparency, and I believe in listening to everyone's opinion. So for the record, I have no problem hearing a response.
No more.
Colleagues,
Madam President,
please, colleagues.
Point of order.
Colleagues, please.
Yes. Palestine, point of order. I'm not going to speak about this. I want point of order, please.
Okay, Palestine, point of order. What is it?
I'm going to speak in Arabic, so please use your headphones.
Madam President, dear colleagues, what we had been warning about for years. Now, when we told you that Israeli plans and actual practices of this racist entity aims at emptying our land of its native inhabitants have now become a proposal that is tabled on the podium of the IPU. This proposal that calls for the displacement of the Palestinian people, despite the fact that this entity has perpetrated ethnic cleansing and genocide against Palestine. Madam President, it's a point of order.
Hold on, please.
Okay.
Hold on, please. Hold on, please.
Okay.
Madam President,
Colleagues.
every time we come here is
Colleagues.
Palestine and Israel.
Colleagues.
We didn't spend our nation's money to come here only to talk about Palestine and Israel. I have problem in Africa. We should also be given time to talk about our problem in Africa. Every time we come here is Israel and Palestine. We didn't spend money from our country to come here to talk about Israel and Palestine all the time.
Nigeria,
we have
please
problem
calm
in Africa
down.
and it should be addressed.
Nigeria, please.
This house should not be divided every time between Palestine and Israel. We also have problem in Africa.
Colleagues, please allow me to address the issue that was being raised by Palestine.
I didn't finish yet. Just one sentence.
Palestine, I
so
want
that
to.
the point of order is good.
Palestine, you hadn't finished. I'm sorry I had to cut you short. It's because you're responding to something that has been withdrawn.
No.
When it is withdrawn, hold on. We have here just ruled about the fact that we are going to go with our rules. I've been advised that the rules say if an emergency item has been withdrawn, there is nobody who can speak against it because it doesn't exist. So the explanation you're giving is a response to something that has been withdrawn. And colleagues, I try to use the rules as they are, because if I do that, then it means next time somebody else brings a motion, I have to do the same. So it is not a point of order because it is referring to something that doesn't exist.
In our rules, do we have anything, our rules and status, that the IPU can discuss the displacement of a nation from its own land? Is that the case in our rules and status? If yes, then shame on us all, because then we are going to discuss displacement of people.
Palestine, I hear you and I sympathize with you. The problem is our rules as they stand now. I cannot give you the floor to respond to what does not exist. That's the only problem. So
I'm talking about rules and status of the IPU.
I'm sorry, I can't do anything else apart from that. And from what Nigeria, I think, just addressed us, but there's nothing that the chair would like to respond to. So, colleagues, we have had all the sponsors of the various items. We will now proceed to the roll call vote. I'm now going to ask the Secretary General to explain to us briefly the procedure.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you. As I understand it, we now have 3 proposals before the Assembly. And according to the rules, and that's Rule 16.1 of the statutes, the Assembly shall vote by roll call. except when the decision before Assembly meets with no opposition. And the number of votes allocated to each delegation is to be found in document A/150/inf.2. I believe you all have access to that document here. And the number of votes indicated corresponds to the number of delegates announced. Delegations in arrears of more than 2 years of contributions are not entitled to vote under the provisions of Article 5.2 of the statutes and thus do not appear on the list. Please don't walk up to us and ask us why your country name is not on the list. It is because you may be owing more than 2 years in arrears. Then we have, in accordance with 15.1 of the statutes, only delegates physically present in the plenary at the moment of the vote can take part in the vote. The statutes provide that no single delegate can record more than 10 votes, and that's Article 15.3 of the statutes. This means that if a delegation is entitled to, for example, 21 or more votes, it will need the physical presence of at least 3 delegates in the room to cast its full entitlement of votes. To ensure that a variety or a diversity of views can be expressed through the vote, the statute envisaged the possibility of splitting the votes cast by a delegation on any given subject item, and I refer you to Article 15.3 of the statutes. If a delegation is entitled to a total of 15 votes, for example, it can register 6 votes in favor, 5 against, and 4 abstentions, or 10 in favor, 5 against. Vote splitting is not mandatory. The delegation may decide to cast all 15 of its votes for or against. We now have, as I said, 3 competing proposals for the emergency item. Instead of proceeding with a separate roll call on each of them, it is our practice to combine all votes into one round. For each of the 3 proposals in turn, one by one, please state how your delegation will cast the total number of votes to which it is entitled. So, Madam President, we hope this explanation is very clear regarding the voting procedure. If that's the case, Madam President, you may now want to invite my colleague, Ambassador Philip, to proceed with the roll call vote using the table that has been distributed. Thank you.
Colleagues, I'm going to ask Under Philip to lead us in this exercise. It will take some time, but I'm going to ask all delegations to be ready to announce their votes very clearly when the names are called so that we have the actual votes that you delegates have voted. So, Under Philip, Ambassador Under Philip, you have the floor. Can the technician please put on the microphone? She's going to use the podium.
Okay, we have it going. Thank you, distinguished delegates, once again for your patience. Thank you to the interpreters for bearing with us. We realize it's very late and there are places that you need to get to this evening. We will try to conduct this as quickly as possible. The Secretary General has explained the voting procedure. I will be calling each one of the 3 proposals one by one, and for each proposal you will be asked to cast the full allocation of your votes. Please speak clearly into the microphone so I do not have to repeat for my colleagues, and as you know, we're having some difficulties with the sound system. So thank you for your help. We begin with Ukraine. Ukraine, you have 15 votes.
Yeah.
The proposal on tariffs, please.
All abstained.
Proposal on Myanmar.
15 in favor.
Proposal on conflict and global warming.
All abstained.
Thank you. United Arab Emirates. United Arab Emirates, you have 13 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
مع 13 مع.
With 13 with or in favor. 13 in favor. 13 in favor.
13 in favor. Proposal on Myanmar.
Abstain.
Abstention.
Abstain.
Proposal on conflict and global warming.
13 with.
13 in favor.
Thank you. United Kingdom, 18 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
18 in favor.
Proposal on Myanmar.
18 in favor.
Proposal on conflict and global warming.
18 against.
Thank you. Tanzania, you have 18 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
18 against.
Proposal on Myanmar.
18 against.
Conflict and global warming.
18 in favor.
Uruguay, you have 11 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
11 abstained.
Myanmar.
11 abstained.
Conflict and global warming.
11 abstained.
Thank you. Uzbekistan, Vietnam, Zambia. Zambia, you have 14 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
14 against.
Proposal on Myanmar.
14 against.
Conflict and global warming.
14 for that one.
Zimbabwe.
In favor of the global warming. Thank you.
Zimbabwe, you have 13 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
No votes. No.
Against. Proposal on Myanmar.
No.
Conflict and global warming.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Albania. Algeria, 16 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
16 contre.
Proposal on Myanmar.
16 contre.
Proposal on conflict and global warming.
16 pour.
Thank you. Andorra, you have 10 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
10 points à faveur.
Proposal on Myanmar.
10 points à faveur.
Conflict and global warming.
5 points en contre, 5 points en abstention. Merci.
Thank you. Angola, 15 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
15 against.
Proposal on Myanmar.
Against.
Conflict and global warming.
15 in favor.
Thank you. Armenia, 11 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
11 abstain.
Proposal on Myanmar.
11 in favor.
Conflict and global warming.
7 in favor, 4 abstain.
Thank you. Australia, 14 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
4.
Proposal on Myanmar.
4.
Conflict and global warming.
Against.
Thank you. Austria, 12 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
12 votes in favor.
Proposal on Myanmar.
12 votes in favor.
Conflict and global warming.
12 votes against.
Thank you. Azerbaijan, 13 votes. Proposal on tariffs. Absent. Bahamas. Bahrain, you have 11 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
Against.
Proposal on Myanmar.
Against.
Conflict and global warming.
In favor.
Thank you. Belarus, you have 12 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
12 votes against.
Proposal on Myanmar.
12 votes against.
Conflict and global warming.
12 votes in favor.
Thank you. Belgium, 13 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
13 votes in favor.
Proposal on Myanmar.
13 votes in favor.
Conflict and global warming.
13 votes against.
Thank you. Bhutan. Bhutan, you have 10 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
10 votes abstain.
Proposal on Myanmar.
5 votes in favor, 5 abstain.
Conflict and global warming.
5 votes in favor, 5 abstain.
Thank you. Bosnia and Herzegovina, proposal on tariffs. Absent. Botswana. Botswana, 11 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
Proposal on tariffs, 11 votes in favor.
Myanmar.
Abstain.
Conflict and global warming.
11 votes in favor.
Thank you. Brazil, 22 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
22 favor.
I'm told that there are 2 parliamentarians in the room. You have 20 votes. So 20 in favor.
Yes.
Proposal on Myanmar.
Abstention.
Conflict and global warming.
Abstention.
Thank you. Bulgaria, 10 votes. Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso, you have 14 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
14 contre.
Proposal on Myanmar.
14 contre.
Proposal on conflict and global warming.
14 pour.
Burundi, 1 MP, you have 10 votes. Proposal on tariffs. Abstention. Can you try your microphone again? 10 abstention. Okay, it's working now. Myanmar.
Abstention.
Conflict and global warming.
Abstention.
Thank you. Cambodia, 13 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
Abstain.
Proposal on Myanmar.
13 in favor.
Conflict and global warming.
Abstain.
Cameroon, 14 votes. Proposal on tariffs. Do we have Cameroon? Absent. Canada. Canada, 15 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
15 in favor.
Proposal on Myanmar.
15 in favor.
Conflict and global warming.
15 against.
Thank you. Chad, 13 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
Abstain.
Proposal on Myanmar.
Abstain.
Conflict and global warming.
Abstain.
Thank you. Chile, 13 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
13 a favor.
Myanmar.
6 a favor, 6 en contra, una abstención.
Conflict and global warming.
6 a favor, 6 en contra, una abstención.
Thank you. China, 23 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
23 in favor.
Proposal on Myanmar.
15 in favor, 5 abstention, 3 against.
Conflict and global warming.
20 in favor, 3 abstention.
Thank you. Côte d'Ivoire, 15 votes. Proposal on tariffs. Absent. Croatia. Cyprus. Cyprus, 11 votes. Proposal on tariffs, please.
11 in favor.
Proposal on Myanmar.
11 in favor.
Proposal on conflict and global warming.
11 abstain.
Thank you. Czechia, you have 13 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
13 votes in favor.
Myanmar,
13 votes in favor.
conflict and global warming.
13 votes against.
Thank you. Democratic People's Republic of Korea, you have 14 votes absent. DRC, Democratic Republic of the Congo, 20 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
Proposition sur les droits des douanes, abstention.
Proposal on Myanmar.
Abstention aussi.
Conflict and global warming.
20 points. 20 pour.
Thank you. C'est noté. Denmark, 12 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
12 votes against.
Proposal on Myanmar.
12 votes in favor.
Proposal on conflict and global warming.
12 votes against.
Thank you. Djibouti, 11 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
11 points contre.
Myanmar.
11 points contre.
Conflict and global warming.
11 points pour.
Thank you. Dominican Republic, 8 votes, absent. Ecuador. Egypt, 20 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
All votes against.
Proposal on Myanmar.
Against, all votes.
Conflict and global warming.
In favor, all votes.
Noted, thank you. Equatorial Guinea, 11 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
Sí. Para el primer caso, 8 a favor y 3 abstenciones.
Proposal on Myanmar.
5 a favor y 6 abstenciones.
Conflict and global warming.
11 a favor.
Thank you. Estonia, you have 11 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
6 votes in favor, 5 votes against.
Myanmar.
11 votes in favor,
Conflict and global warming.
11 votes against.
Thank you. Eswatini, 11 votes. Proposal on tariffs? No. Ethiopia, 20 votes. Proposal on tariffs. Fiji, 10 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
10 in favor.
Myanmar,
10 in favor.
conflict and global warming.
10 abstain.
Thank you. Finland, 12 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
12 against.
Proposal on Myanmar.
12 in favor.
Conflict and global warming.
12 against.
Thank you. France, 18 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
18 pour.
Myanmar.
18 pour.
Conflict and global warming.
9 abstentions, 9 contre.
Merci. Gambia, Georgia, Germany, 19 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
19 votes for it.
Proposal on Myanmar.
All votes for the proposal.
In favor. Proposal on conflict and global warming.
19 votes against.
Thank you. Ghana, Ghana, no. Greece, Guyana, Hungary. Hungary, you have 12 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
12 against.
Proposal on Myanmar.
12 in favor.
Proposal on conflict and global warming.
8 against, 4 abstention.
8 against, 4 abstentions. Iceland, 10 votes. Proposal on tariffs, please.
10 for favor.
Proposal on Myanmar.
10 for favor.
Conflict and global warming.
5 for favor. 5 for abstain.
Thank you. India, Indonesia, 22 votes for Indonesia. Proposal on tariffs.
22 abstain.
Proposal on Myanmar.
22 abstain.
Conflict and global warming.
22 in favor.
Thank you. We go to Iran. Iran, you have 19 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
19 against.
Proposal on Myanmar.
19 against.
Conflict and global warming.
19 in favor.
Thank you. Iraq, 16 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
Against.
Myanmar.
Against.
Conflict and global warming.
In favor.
Thank you. Ireland has 12 votes. Proposal on tariffs. I'm not sure the microphone is on.
Sorry, 12 for.
Myanmar.
12 for.
Conflict and global warming.
6 for, 6 abstain.
Thank you. Israel, you have 12 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
Abstain.
Proposal on Myanmar.
12 for. 12 for.
Proposal on conflict and global warming.
12 against.
Thank you. Italy, 17 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
In favor.
Myanmar.
Favor.
Conflict and global warming.
Against.
Japan, 20 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
20 in favor.
Myanmar.
20 in favor.
Conflict and global warming.
20 abstention.
Thank you. Jordan, 13 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
Against.
Myanmar.
Against.
Conflict and global warming.
In favor.
Thank you. Kazakhstan has 14 votes. Kenya. Do we have Kenya? Kyrgyzstan. Laos. Latvia. Latvia, you have 11 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
Latvia, 11 votes for, in favor.
Myanmar.
11 votes in favor.
Conflict and global warming.
11 votes against.
Thank you. We move to Libya. Lithuania, you have 11 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
6 in favor, 5 abstain.
Proposal on Myanmar.
11 in favor.
Conflict and global warming.
11 against.
Thank you. Luxembourg, 10 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
10 in favor.
Myanmar.
10 in favor.
Conflict and global warming.
10 against.
Malawi, 14 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
5 in favor. 9 against.
Proposal on Myanmar.
5 in favor. 9 against.
Conflict and global warming.
14 in favor.
Thank you. Malaysia, 15 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
15 in favor.
Myanmar.
15 vote in favor.
Conflict and global warming.
15 in favor.
Thank you. Maldives, 10 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
10 votes against.
Proposal on Myanmar.
10 votes against.
Proposal on conflict and global warming.
10 votes in favor.
Thank you. Malta, you have 10 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
10 votes in favor.
Proposal on Myanmar.
10 votes in favor.
Proposal on conflict and global warming.
4 abstention. 6 in favor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mauritania, 10 votes. Proposal on tariffs. Not in the room. Mexico. Mexico has 20 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
20 votes. Abstention.
Myanmar.
20 votes in favor.
Conflict and global warming.
20 votes. Abstention.
Thank you. Monaco, 10 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
10 voix pour.
Proposal on Myanmar.
10 voix pour.
Conflict and global warming.
10 voix contre.
10 in favor, 10 in favor, 10 against.
Mongolia, 11 votes. Proposal on tariffs. Montenegro, 10 votes. Proposal on tariffs. Morocco, 15 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
15 against.
Myanmar.
15 against.
Conflict and global
15
warming.
votes in favor.
Thank you. Mozambique, 15 votes. 1 MP, 10 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
Against.
Proposal on Myanmar.
Against.
Conflict and global warming.
In favor.
Thank you. Namibia, 11 votes. Just a second. Our apologies, we need to repeat Mozambique. Can you repeat Mozambique, please, your votes on tariffs?
Against.
Proposal on Myanmar.
Against.
Conflict and global warming.
In favor.
Thank you. Yeah. Namibia, 11 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
11 against.
Proposal on Myanmar.
11 abstain.
Conflict and global warming.
11 in favor.
Thank you. Nepal, 14 votes. Proposal, no. Netherlands, 13 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
8 in favor, 5 against.
Proposal on Myanmar.
13 in favor.
Proposal on conflict and global warming.
13 against.
Noted, thank you. New Zealand, 12 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
12 votes in favor.
Myanmar.
12 votes in favor.
Conflict and global warming.
12 votes against.
Thank you. Nigeria, 22 votes. Nigeria, proposal on tariffs.
On tariff, 22 vote abstain.
Proposal on Myanmar.
22 vote for.
Conflict and global warming.
22 vote against.
Thank you. Norway, 12 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
12 votes abstain.
Myanmar.
12 votes in favor.
Conflict and global warming.
12 votes against.
Thank you. Oman, 12 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
12 votes against.
Proposal on Myanmar.
12 votes against.
Conflict and global warming.
12 votes in favor.
Thank you. Pakistan has 22 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
22 all against.
Proposal on Myanmar.
22 all against.
Conflict and global warming.
22 all in favor.
Thank you. Palestine, 12 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
All against.
Proposal on Myanmar.
All against.
Conflict and global warming.
All in favor.
Thank you. Paraguay, 12 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
12 votos, abstención.
Myanmar.
12 votos, abstención.
12 abstentions again.
12 votos en contra.
12 against.
Peru, 15 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
A favor.
In
Myanmar.
favor.
A favor.
In favor.
Conflict and global warming.
A favor.
In favor.
Philippines, 10 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
10 votes abstain.
Myanmar.
10 votes for.
Conflict and global warming.
10 votes abstain.
Thank you. Poland, 15 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
15 against.
Myanmar.
15 in favor.
Conflict and global warming.
15 against.
Thank you. Portugal, 13 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
All votes in favor.
Myanmar.
All votes in favor.
Conflict and global warming.
All votes against.
Okay, thank you. Qatar, 11 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
Against.
Myanmar.
Against.
Conflict and global warming.
In favor.
Thank you. Republic of Korea, you have 17 votes. Romania, 13 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
All vote in favor.
Myanmar.
All votes in favor.
Conflict and global warming.
All votes against.
Thank you. Russian Federation, 20 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
20 votes against.
Myanmar.
20 abstentions.
Conflict and global warming.
Of course, 20 in favor.
Thank you. Rwanda has 13 votes, but they're not in the room. San Marino, Sao Tome and Principe has 10 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
10 abstention.
Myanmar.
10 abstention.
Conflict and global warming.
10 abstention.
Thank you. Saudi Arabia, 15 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
15 vote against.
Proposal on Myanmar.
15 vote against.
Conflict and global warming.
15 votes in favor.
Senegal, you have 13 votes. Proposal on tariffs. Absent. Serbia. Seychelles. 10 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
Against.
Proposal on Myanmar.
Against.
Proposal on conflict and global warming.
In favor.
Okay. I'm now passing to the last half page. I just want to make a correction. I understand that from Portugal, there was only one MP. So those votes that were cast need to be assigned 10 votes. Okay. Somalia, 13 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
Slovenia.
13 votes against.
Proposal on Myanmar.
13 votes against.
Conflict and global warming.
13 votes in favor.
Yeah. Apologies, Slovenia. Apologies, Slovenia. I went too fast. You have 11 votes. Proposal on tariffs, please.
11 votes in favor.
Myanmar.
11 votes in favor.
Conflict and global warming.
11 votes against.
Thank you. We go to South Africa with 18 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
Against.
Proposal on Myanmar.
Against.
Conflict and global warming.
In favor.
Thank you. South Sudan, 13 votes. Proposal on tariffs. South Sudan is absent. Spain, 10 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
In favor.
Proposal on Myanmar.
In favor.
Conflict and global warming.
Against.
Thank you. Sri Lanka, 14 votes. Absent. Sweden, 13 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
13 votes abstain.
Myanmar.
13 votes in favor.
Conflict and global warming.
13 votes against.
Thank you. Switzerland, 12 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
12 votes. 12 votes in favor.
Proposal on Myanmar.
12 votes in favor.
Proposal on conflict and global warming.
12 votes against.
Thank you. Tajikistan. Thailand, 18 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
All in favor.
Myanmar.
All in favor.
Conflict and global warming.
All in favor.
Thank you. Timor-Leste, 11 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
11 vote in abstain.
Proposal on Myanmar.
11 vote in favor.
Conflict and global warming.
11 votes abstain.
Thank you. Turkey, you have 19 votes. Proposal on tariffs.
19 votes against.
Proposal on Myanmar.
19 votes abstain.
Conflict and global warming.
19 votes for Palestine favor.
Thank you. Turkmenistan, 12 votes. Proposal on tariffs. Do we have Turkmenistan in the room? It appears not. We move on to Uganda, 16 votes. Proposal on tariffs. Uganda's not here, no? No. Okay, so with this, we've come to the end of the list. I need to ask if all the delegations have voted. It appears, Madam President, that all the delegations have voted, and you may wish to declare the vote closed.
Colleagues, the vote is closed, and I am now going to request for the results, and then announce to you the results that we have gotten.
Where's Nora? When did we meet tomorrow? If there's an emergency item, 9:30.
Let me look on the app.
Just check the timetable.
Dear colleagues, we have now the results from the Secretariat. The results of the Assembly vote. Subject: advancing global economic cooperation, reducing tariffs and combating protectionism, sponsored by Chile and Peru. Positive votes 482, negative votes 460, abstentions 255, total of yes and no votes 942, two-thirds of the vote cast 628, specified majority two-thirds, whether it is attained or not. It has not attained the majority, it's a no. Results of the Assembly vote. Subject: parliamentary diplomacy to promote peace and address humanitarian crisis in Myanmar, sponsored by Indonesia, Philippines, and Thailand. Positive votes 630, negative votes 358, abstentions 209, total of yes and no votes 988, two-thirds of the votes cast 659, specified majority two-thirds, whether it is attained or not. It has not attained the specified majority. Results of the Assembly vote. Subject: the need for urgent action on the recent violation of the ceasefire agreement by Israel and in Palestine, the escalating conflicts in the Democratic Republic of Congo and Sudan, and the compounding effects of global warming, Seychelles, Zimbabwe, sponsored by Seychelles, Zimbabwe, Jordan, and Egypt, with the support of the Arab group and the African group. The number of positive votes, 584. Negative votes, 393. Abstentions, 220. Total of yes and no votes, 977. Two-thirds of the votes cast, 651. Specified majority, two-thirds, whether it is attained or not. It has not attained the majority. So, colleagues, the three emergency items which were received from the sponsors, who are our delegates here, and the votes that have been cast now, there is none of the emergency items that will be discussed tomorrow.
So we resume the general debate.
Colleagues, that said, we will then go ahead and say, because we have no emergency item to discuss tomorrow because none has attained the two-thirds majority, we are going to begin tomorrow on 8th. We will begin our general debate at 9 a.m. So I'm going to invite all of you colleagues to be here by 9 a.m. to continue with our debate. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.